in this book, the first page is by Syed Farid Alatas. And he talks about the Muslim world, especially in the context of the Middle East. And he talks about how one of the big problems is the involvement of foreign entities, particularly the West. Now, in this book also, there is talk about how Iran has emerged as one of the states that are very against Western interference in the Middle East. If we look at the bombing in Yemen, they bombed the port as well as 2 power stations that had, that, if I'm not mistaken, the power stations were actually run by Irani entities, if I'm not mistaken. Now, is the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh a way to involve Iran in, and eventually for the West or for Israel to remove or to weaken the main opposers of Western interference in the Middle East?
Well, looking at the Middle East, the American hegemony in the Middle East is something around 80 to 90%. Unlike, for instance, South China Sea, where there is a strong rivalry between the Chinese and Americans. So people in South East Asia and in Asia Pacific in general have some choice. You can still do, hedging, a successful policy of hedging like Malaysia is doing, or you can maybe pick sides. But in the case of the Middle East, countries of the Middle East don't have choice. You are either not a partner of the Americans, you are either under the American hegemony, like most of the countries of Latin America, of course, or you are a rival and an enemy or resistance-defiant state or group. And Iran has, since the collapse of Saddam Hussein's Iraq, has naturally become the leader of the resistance camp in the Middle East, because when the Americans, came to crush Saddam Hussein's regime, their eyes were at the whole map. They wanted to have absolute hegemony. So, and I remember there's a viral video of Muammar Gaddafi, the former Libyan leader, in the Arab League summit, telling all the Arab leaders that after Saddam Hussein's execution, 2005, he was telling them that they are coming after all of you, one by one. So in the American, master game, they want total, absolute hegemony in the Middle East. Something like what they have in the Monroe Doctrine. America is the most dominant power. There are very small pockets of resistance, Cuba, Venezuela, but America is still the upper voice. In the Middle East, they have like 80 to 90%. Iran is, after the collapse of Saddam Hussein's Iraq, after the collapse of Libya, and after, of course, Syria went through this very painful civil war, Iran emerged as the only major regional power opposing American hegemony. So there is nothing more than crushing Iran that America dreams of. And that's why I fully believe that the ongoing genocide in Gaza and the ongoing Israeli aggression in the Middle East is not only supported by the Americans. Some people say America is complicit in these war crimes. No, it's more than that. It's orchestrated by the Americans. When October 7th happened, the next day, the American president himself came to Israel. The American defense minister came to Israel. Blinken has traveled to the Middle East more than any other region in the world, maybe 11 or 12 times by now. They joined the war cabinet of Netanyahu. They asked other opposition figures to join the cabinet of Netanyahu. The American security institutions started to provide Israel everything, information, intelligence information, strategies, plans. They advised them what to do, what not to do. The only difference between the two sides, maybe two points actually. One is that America prefers clean genocide, kill them silently. And they have been telling them, okay, kill whoever you want to kill, but don't cause a lot of anger. Mistreat Palestinian prisoners, but don't let this leak into media. Do whatever you want in Lebanon, but don't embarrass us in front of our allies and friends in the region. This is one. The other thing is Netanyahu's arrogance. Nobody can bear Netanyahu. And it's well recorded that presidents like Obama, I think Sarkozy, and many other world leaders have cursed him in many occasions because he is unbearable. He's difficult to. He's one of the most narcissistic political figures in modern history. So even for Biden, who gave everything to Netanyahu, he's still unable to bear Netanyahu's arrogance. So back to the point. No, America wants to knock down Iran. They want to knock down the Yemeni government. They want to knock down the Syrian government. They want to knock down everybody. They want to wipe out Hamas in Gaza and the West Bank. But they want to do it nicely. So the chances of a regional war are there, of course. But knowing that the Iranians are rational thinkers, I think they have their own calculations. I don't think the Iranian retaliation yesterday meant that Iran wants a regional war. It only meant that Iran wanted to deter Israel, to maintain some sort of rules of engagement. Iran wants to stop the war in Gaza. Iran does not want a regional war. Most of the resistance powers in the Middle East actually want an end to the genocide in Gaza. They don't want a continuous, perpetual war. But the Israelis want a perpetual war because they have a map in their minds that they want to craft as much as possible. They cannot get rid of the Palestinians in Gaza by sending them to Egypt. Maybe some Israeli thinkers will tell them, send them to Syria, send them to Lebanon. Things like that might happen. They've done that in the past. And of course, not everything that Israel wants will happen because there is a strong resistance on the ground. Let's hope that this Iranian retaliation yesterday brings some sanity to the American decision makers and they bring an end to this ongoing genocide.